And now, everyone, let's put our hands together and give a warm welcome to your host, Daniel Siegel.
Everybody, hi. Oh, wow. My voice finally got louder. They usually say make it lower. All right, I promise this is on engaging content, so I'm only going to read from a sheet for 3 times, okay? And then after that, we're just talking. Hello, and everyone. Okay, let me try that again. So they call me One Take Dr. Siegel, all right? This is the take.
This is the take.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you to those who are here with us on campus and those who are joining us online. It actually says that. No, I'm just kidding. My name is Dr. Daniel Siegel, and I am a course director here at Full Sail University for the Department of IDTMS, that's Instructional Design Technology, Masters of Science. That sounds pretty impressive, doesn't it? Yeah. It says that here, too. I'm hosting a session titled Designing Addicting Content Responsibly. That's impressive. He wrote it.
Yeah.
And please put your hands together. Now, I don't want the college student 9 a.m. clapping. I want the college student Friday night rave clapping.
Yeah.
Okay? Because if you don't, foam's going to fall from the ceiling. I'm just letting you know that. So I hope you didn't wear anything too nice. So put your hands together and help me welcome our panelist, Aaron Cook, who's a producer and a big shot around the world. Good job. Good job.
I can clap.
Clap yourself.
Yeah.
Round of applause. Oh, that was a good one. That was good. You all get 1 GPS point for that. Except for that guy over there. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm going to start off with the first question. Basically, the way it's going to work is I'm going to ask him questions, and we're going to try to have a nice conversation that helps. And for questions he doesn't answer for everybody, kind of jot it down or write it down in your head or write it on your neighbor's arm. And then in like an hour or so, we're going to open the floor to questions. So you will be able to get to ask better questions than me. But in the meantime, put on your big listening ears because he's a successful person in the business of creating content. So we talked a little bit, and we have a huge variety here today of people from all different disciplines. So that's really exciting because we're going to try to be as general as possible with content.
Yeah.
Now, my first question, it's a little jokey, but it's also kind of serious. These are young people. Mm-hmm. So they're probably thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, why should we listen to you?
You shouldn't.
On the topic of addicting content.
No,
give us your whole background.
My whole So I was born,
Okay, Steve Martin.
Yeah, so I work as a producer, which for those who aren't aware, it's a glorified project manager. It's weird hearing yourself.
It is.
Yeah. And right now I'm working on gambling products for the company that I work for. I get to work on Lord of the Rings, James Bond, a Wizard of Oz game that we're making right now. So yeah, like this is the kind of discussions that we have regularly. Just talking about like how do we make something where our player base is going to enjoy it, but they're not gonna like lose their life savings over one of our games.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the creative process, because whether you're in creative writing or gaming or movies or whatever field it is, there's a similarity, I would think, in coming up with something that's creative and something that people want to pay to see, play, interact with. So the next question is, what works in making addicting content?
So I know that I titled it Addicting Content. I would say if you want to make something addicting, make a Skinner box. I would encourage people to make something engaging rather than addicting, though. Like Farmville is a perfect example of a Skinner box. Like all you do is go in, click on something, and then it makes you wait before you can do anything else. And rather than try to consume as much of your player's time, make sure that that experience is just as exciting and engaging as possible. But so as far as what works, pretty lights, lots of sounds and colors, and just like a lot of stimuli is really effective.
One thing about Skinner boxes is that a lot of it uses operant conditioning,
Yes.
meaning, and I'm totally not going to bore you guys, but operant conditioning, the layman term is unpredictable rewards.
Yeah.
You know, like if you went home one day and your significant other has flowers all over the table, and then the next day you come home and the house is burned down. That is a really extreme example of operant conditioning.
Yeah.
And how do you incorporate the unpredictable nature of reward in your games?
So we have mathematicians that we staff that have at least a master's in mathematics, and they focus on that kind of reward schedule and figuring out what's enough that people will want to, oh, cool, that was an awesome win, I can cash out now, rather than, okay, that was good, but like I think I could do better, and then they keep playing. Yeah, so we actually design in exit points in our content to try and get people to stop playing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So if you want to be scary kids, get good at math. That's the moral of this whole thing.
Yes.
But it's really math and behavioralism.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how far can we push people without pushing them over the edge, but still coming back?
And for our content, like, it is money per play. Like, you have to spend at least the minimum bet to even interact with the game.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal a Bill Thompson question.
Okay.
Because he is a good one. So what have you done in the past in creating content that is hopefully just like a little bit engaging, but not too addicting, that you would do again?
Ooh.
Is that a good one?
That's a good
Bill
one.
Thompson, he's the man.
Yeah. So the question was, what would I do?
Right here.
Okay. What have you done in the past that you would do again in creating content? I think the biggest thing is just relying on my team. Like, the process of making games and really anything is very collaborative, and good ideas come from everywhere, and you don't want to shut that out. So, getting the team involved and engaged, and I rely on those guys. Like, without them, I'm just useless.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a lot of people in the audience who are students, and they're asking, how do I get to be on that team? Like, what do you look for when you're building a team of people you trust?
So for me personally, I look for somebody who is actually team focused. I interviewed a student here actually that we ended up hiring. Yeah. And the thing that made me want to hire him was he said, I just want to make people's lives easier by automating the mundane, routine nonsense that they have to do every day.
That's really...
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you're looking for people who provide service that makes your life easier. Am I hearing that right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's I look for people that are going to focus on the team, not just me, but everybody. Right. Yeah.
I've always thought that the people who are successful are people that you like working with. Like, that's like the number one, then the number two. So be likable. I don't know what that means though, but
yeah, I mean, don't be a jerk.
Okay.
Can I swear, by the way? Yeah, don't be a dick.
Oh, okay. Listen, I'm not going to fail you, you know. All right, I want you to deduct 10 GPS points from when
Well, it's
he
like
was a
you guys are
student.
broadcasting or recording or whatever. I don't know. Like,
That's all right.
I have a really foul mouth, and I've been censoring myself. But if I can just like go off, cool.
Well, I'm very delicate. Oh, my stars and garden. No, it's okay. I'm not going to do it, though, because I still work here. So, You're like, hey, were you the guy who cursed in that video? Unless you really get me going, and then it might happen.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Okay, so over the course of your career, what have you changed in regard to your approach to creative content and addicting material? Like, what's different about your approaches and teams?
I think I've gone from kind of being in my box to just collaborating more. So I recently worked on a piece for Cirque du Soleil, and I'm colorblind, and so I went to my art lead and was like, "Hey, how do I color?" Like, and he broke out like a color wheel, and we went through basic color theory, and he helped me pick out, paints and do everything. So, and then because of him, that piece was featured, and now I get to fly out to Vegas for the gallery opening.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is sometimes to be a leader, you have to show your own vulnerability.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that hard? Like, how do you do that for people who are not good at it?
So for the people who struggle with that, I'd say get over yourself. Like nobody cares that you went to somebody for help. Nobody's going to be upset that this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's coming up and is just like, "Oh, hey, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me with this thing?" Nobody's going to mind. What they will mind is if you're like, "I got this," and then you don't.
And then you totally stink at it.
Yeah.
It's like, fuchsia.
Yeah.
Periwinkle. What were you thinking here, Aaron? So, how has your company and industry changed, and how do the organization that you work for support creating, engaging, addicting content, and kind of support or dissuade you from making it too addicting?
Yeah, so we, in our team discussions, we actually, when we're working on a game or whatever, we actually make a point to consider the player, and we actually sit down and talk about, would this be fun? Would this be, and we'll talk about, frequency of hit rates for different things, and if something's like way too far out there and you're just not getting it often enough, we'll call that out and just be like, yeah, this isn't right. We need to fix this math model. But yeah, and we work with we've got people up to like the VP level that come in and give feedback, and we take guidance from them. We have an insights and analytics team that help us by conducting external prototypes, kind of like a focus group. We also rely on them for performance data, so we can see how our stuff's doing out in the field, and we will base decisions on that. So like, oh, hey, this one game's killing it, and people love this thing about it, we should do that again. Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes that works against you, because it seems to me like there are so many people, and I talk to students all the time, who are like, I want to be a game designer. I'm going to pick on game designers for a second, so forgive me. But it's like, I want to be a game designer. And I say to them, okay, well, what are you doing to prepare for a career in game design? And they're like, well, we play other people's games that other people made, and we're just going to recycle it, when we graduate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So how do you prevent that?
So for the people who aren't aware what a minimum viable product is, it's like strip everything you can away, and if you can ship that, that's your minimum viable product. And so I think you need to have a minimum viable product, or MVP, that is engaging to begin with. And if you don't have that, then like it doesn't matter that you borrowed Skyrim's leveling system or whatever. But I mean, we definitely rip off stuff all the time. We're like, oh, this was cool. We should do that. And then we try stuff and we'll play it and get feedback from players. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. And we've had stuff where, you know, we recycle an idea, we take it in front of players, and they're like, this seems a lot like insert
X
game
or...
title here. And we're like, well, yeah, that's the idea. And they're like, but I hated that in that game. And we're like, oops.
You're supposed to customize every game you make just for me.
Yeah.
So could you give an example of the minimal viable product from something from the past that you're allowed to talk about?
Yeah.
That people would know?
That people would know.
And while he's thinking, we're going to ask him about Game of Thrones theories later.
So I would say, so for Dying Light, minimum viable product would have been being able to run around and engage with zombies. Because you don't have to necessarily kill them, but just being able to like run from them, or there's like a thing you can pick up where you can like leap off of them. So just being able to like run around in an open world and engage with zombies. You don't need the buildings, you don't need all the other stuff that's going on. Like just that. And there's actually a game that's really similar to that did really well on Steam called Devil Daggers. And it's just like an open field, stuff comes in, and you run from it, and you shoot at it, and you try not to die.
Does anybody play those games? All right. Are they good? Yes? No? Oh, no, this guy's impressed.
Yeah.
He like grabbed his goatee, he was so impressed.
We got
wow, it's the highest rating you can get.
Yeah,
I don't know if you know
absolutely.
that. It's like a AAA. All right. I'm kidding. All right, so how does your organization, can you say who you work for?
Scientific Games.
What's that?
Scientific Games.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So how do they ever hamper you, like your ability to create engaging content or like companies you worked for previously maybe?
Not really. I would say, so the stuff that I work in now is heavily regulated. And
By who? Who regulates it?
Several hundred jurisdictions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, like West Virginia has their own rules on like gambling products, and then, so like Nevada has its own rules, and then Las Vegas has its own rules, and so we're in like 200 jurisdictions globally, or upwards of 200. But that intense regulation actually forces us to be a lot more creative. We got to think, okay, well, how can we do this in a way that's fun while abiding to like all these constraints?
Okay, so give us an example of like a restriction that kind of stopped you guys in your tracks and you had to overcome it.
Yeah, so we have, for the Wizard of Oz game that I'm working on right now, we've got this feature that, so like one of the regulations is if a game like powers down for whatever reason, when you resume play, when it comes back up, it has to pick up right where it left off.
Oh, okay.
And so this thing that we're putting in this game has, there's a lot of moving parts, and it's this continual thing, and we had to find a way to make that power recoverable. And we spent probably 3 weeks working with jurisdictional engineering, software quality engineering, software quality assurance, mathematicians, designers, our engineering team, just like, how do we do this? How do we make this happen?
How big is your team?
So for that game, we're around 25.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have personality issues with your employees that sometimes impairs making engaging content? Like
It's,
fights?
I mean, not like
Oh.
fights. I mean, there's been.
You can't talk about Fight Club.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, the mic's on.
No, I mean, there's been times where somebody's ruffled somebody else's feathers for sure. It's gonna happen, but I think it's just because we have people who genuinely care about trying to make the best game possible, and sometimes they lose sight of, oh, the other person wants that too, and they'll be like, no, but like we can't do that for whatever reason, and get upset. Or we've had somebody who was like, I need this thing now, and like getting really antsy. But at the end of the day, like that usually kind of falls by the wayside because we're just like, okay, well, like I'll get this when I get it, or you know what, let's just make a good game. And that's been my like thing anytime that like I'm in a meeting and people are starting to get heated. I'm like, wait. We're making games. This should be fun. Like, why are you upset right now?
He wanted a purple elf.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, got nothing. All right, so what about your customer? Not so much the end user, but like the person who comes in and says, I'm hiring your scientific to build a gambling thing.
So actually the way it works is, so we create our own cabinets, OS, framework, and application layer software for like the games themselves. And then we sell that to our customers. Oh, wow. And so there have been times where customers reach out and they're like, hey, Lord of the Rings has been doing awesome. Make a new game because this cabinet's really old.
Yeah.
So that happens from time to time. We have contracts with our licensors that we have to keep up with where, like we have release schedules and stuff that we have to count for. Like we've got to make so many games in so many years, and so we want to spread that out. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, we create content and then we're like, here's what we got.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Now, what if you make it and they're like,
that happens.
what do you do?
Make something new.
Oh, all right. Get yelled at.
Yeah. We have a great sales team, and they do an amazing job working with our customers and just kind of catering to their needs. They're broken up by region so that they can really get to learn that market and what that player base is going to care about, what the customers in that region are going to be concerned with, and our sales team is just stellar.
Do you have a strong relationship with the sales team in that they say, hey, the customer wants purple elves. You think you can fit them in?
Yeah, not to that degree.
Okay.
I do try to keep in touch with them. And like when we do a request for archive, so like that's it.
Right.
Not doing any more software stuff on this. It's done. I try to reach out to them and let them know like, oh, hey, this game's going to be ready in 8 weeks for you to sell.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That was a really good answer. What about end users? Like, do you ever listen to the population?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
How do you talk to them?
So our insights and analytics team, we do focus groups. They'll do, I forget what it's called, but basically like somebody gets up from playing a game and they're like, oh, hey, do you have a moment? Like we'd like to ask you some questions. And but yeah, and so they gather data from players in the field. We bring them in and we have moderators that go through games and we get their feedback. Yeah.
I don't know if you knew this, but when we talked about doing this panel, you had mentioned Skinner a few times.
I had.
Do you know who Skinner did his research on mostly?
Pigeons?
His daughter.
His daughter.
That is a true fact. And he's one of the reasons they came up with ethical standards for research. Because, you're not really supposed to test on your children.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So here's a question that kind of I'm really reaching out to our students on. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a tough one. Is being a creator or writer or filmmaker of addictive content, Is that a gift, a talent, or a skill that you can learn?
Yeah, absolutely. It's if you take the time to like really research and understand why something is successful, then you'll have the tools in your arsenal to be able to replicate that. But you can't just be like, oh, this show was a hit, so we just need to like copy its format. And it needs to be authentic and genuine, because people can see through that shit. Yeah.
That's 2. Next time you're out of here. No, I'm just kidding. But expand on how you define research, because that can mean a lot of things.
Yeah, so like when I'm at home playing games, when I get to, I have my laptop out and I'm just taking notes of like, this was a cool system. I like the way they did this thing. This was a cool effect. And then I go in and like look at how they like technically accomplished that. And then I share that with like my engineers or tech artists or whoever. And I'm like, hey, can we put something like this in our game? And then, so there's that aspect of it. And then there's been a few times where I take the time to study like the user base for something that's really successful and get an understanding of those players. Like I'll just hop on Facebook, go to like, let's say like World of Warcraft as an example.
Oh, don't start with that in addictive content, because I've spent many a 3 a.m. in my order hall trying to tell my followers to do something, and I'm out of resources or whatever. So
yeah, but I'll go on and just like look up a group that is just dedicated to that, post a survey in there to get their feedback from their perspective on what they think of the game, why they enjoy it, all the different things about it.
What about story? Because, I mean, we're talking a lot about the technical aspects of games, but there's a lot of people here who are creative-driven and story people for movies and writing and books. So how do you research if you're someone who's approaching a game? Let's say it's a subject matter you know nothing about, like zombies. What's a zombie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just something that's you're not familiar with. Or gambling. Let's say you're not familiar with a certain game. What do you do to research like the story engagement aspects of things?
I've never been in that situation. What I would do is, because a lot of stories have like formats. There's like the 3-act paradigm and the hero's journey. And so I would just look at a story and like go through it and try to identify which parts meet which things from like the fundamentals, and try to identify where they followed a rule and try to identify where it seems like they intentionally broke a rule or bent it in some way.
So you have a writing staff, I'm sure, in your 25 people. No writers?
Nope.
People just inject the story in?
We don't really do story in gambling products. Okay. It's kind of hard to pull off just because.
Or like previous products, maybe.
Oh yeah. I've worked.
I'm asking about your whole career.
Oh yeah.
Like
I've had teams that I've had teams that have writers.
So if they gave you something and you were just like, what would you say to them to try to inject more originality or creativity or addiction?
So I don't want to dismiss the thought or intention that went into their work. So I would approach it and just be like, hey, can you explain what were you trying to pull off here, just so that I have some like context. And I've had stuff where people are like, oh, well, like I was trying to accomplish like this kind of thing and set this thing up later. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. This seems a little like this thing. Like, is that what you were going for? And then they're usually like, oh, no. Like, let me change it.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
See, that's the good thing about being a professional is that, if they say no, you just fire them.
Sure.
Right? I don't know. I mean. So, again, this is a school and we're interviewing for students, basically, and potential students. Yeah. So, build on, what's going on over there? These guys are having too much fun here. So you had mentioned in the last question that it's not a gift per se. It's something you can work on and improve. So how can students and potential professionals like you sharpen the creativity to create content? And I'm not talking about the gambling thing. I'm talking about like story-driven games, films.
So honestly, just do it and share it. Get feedback. Don't take it personally if somebody's like, oh, this was a really dumb story hook, or this thing sucked, or this wasn't engaging. Don't take it personally. Like that's their opinion. But if 100 people have the same opinion, maybe you should change something.
Or rewrite.
Yeah. So, I try to get any of my personal work, I try to get it in front of people as often as I can so that I can get feedback and know what I'm doing wrong, where I could be better. Never assume that you've like made the right choice.
So you're saying for students who make a project, don't be like, wow, this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
If my professor doesn't give me an A+, he's dumb.
Exactly.
That's actually happened to me before. No way. Yeah. No, and I'm not talking about any Full Sail student. This is from an old school. Mm-hmm. So how are you as a designer responsible for content? And I'm not just talking about the creation of it, but responsible for meeting the codes as well, for making sure it's not too addicting.
Yeah, so I'm not a designer, I'm a producer.
No, I'm saying you're designers.
Oh, how are they responsible for the content? So for any licensed product, we have to work with our licensors and make sure that we're representing their brand in a way that they would be happy with. And other than that, one of their big metrics for the team that I'm on right now is average coin in. And so, we want to make sure that we're creating something that's outperforming the competition.
Right.
And so a lot of that comes down to how we structure the math. We have a lot of talks with the team about like, does this read well? Can you follow what's going on? Like we want to make something that feels intuitive. You don't want to feel like you've been gypped after you just spent, $20 doing this.
Yeah. And I know in the gaming industry, there's a very loyal or disloyal following.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, all right, who made it? Who's the designer? Who's in it? Am I wrong? Am I right? Does anybody follow people who make this similar games? Like, oh, okay, then it'll probably be good. Or then like they get a new team in a game that you love and it's just garbage. And you're like, I want my $70 back, GameStop.
Yeah.
Am I the only person who's done that? Oh, okay. All right, whew. So when you had started off, what did you start off as when you left Full Sail?
So when I left Full Sail, I started as a human factors engineer working in military and medical simulation.
How was that?
Crazy.
Crazy how?
Just like, so I was working at a really small company, so people had to wear a lot of hats. And it was a lot of, I bounced around between like 24 projects in a year, working on stuff for like ONR, Office of Naval Research, Air Force Research Labs, working for entities like that or working on projects like that for those entities. And it was a lot of like working with people and trying to understand how people operate and the different things that would be concerns.
I'm so glad you said that, because when I talk to students, I say, hey, you might not go from the graduation stage to Blizzard, Rockstar, AAA titles, or in movie terms like Lucasfilms.
Yeah.
You might have to start off doing, let's say, for lack of a better term, grunt work in the military contracting.
Yeah.
So how did you transition to what I assume is your dream job?
Yeah, no, so I picked up some contract gigs doing the same kind of stuff for just developers. And so that was just like on my own time and, trying to like work with them and continue that same level of research for games. and then just kind of transitioned into this. I wrote an article for Gama Sutra on how to use Bayesian statistics for project management.
That's great.
Yeah, and sent it to my buddy who'd been a producer and was just like, hey, can you give this a once over? Like, does this make sense?
Do you want to translate the title for people who
So,
are not that...
yeah. So Bayesian statistics is just the probability of something happening. So just being able to look at like, all right, how likely is this to happen? And if that happens, how likely is this to happen? So that it's used by like the CDC a lot, so that they make sure that they can distribute vaccines quickly and
Sure.
whatever other things that they do. But yeah, so sent it to a buddy, and he'd been trying to get me hired there for
Hired
years.
at
At
Game
SG.
Studio? At where?
At Scientific Games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it was just one of those things where it just kind of worked out. I think it's just because like we both have a deep mutual respect for each other as working professionals that we had formed in grad school.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So networking.
Network. Be nice to this person. Be nice to that person, because you never know. Actually, I got the job here because of networking.
Yeah.
A friend I had in college.
All but one of my jobs has been from networking.
Everyone?
All but one.
What was the one that you didn't get from networking?
I was...
Pizza delivery?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was a assistant project manager for a SimViz company.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was just from your credentials?
No, actually, that one was networking too. Yeah. Okay. So all of them have been from networking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, if I could, that's going to be a question I'm going to lead to, but, you know, if I could give advice to my younger self,
Yeah.
it'd be like, network, talk to people.
Yeah. Also, like, for the folks like watching at home and here, networking is just making friends. Like, that's it. Just make friends with people.
She's nodding. She's going to leave and say, you know, I'm going to make a friend today.
Yeah.
So everybody, if you have one homework assignment from this, make a friend. And would you say the nerdier the better, or is it should
All
be the
walks
cool
of
friend?
life.
Okay,
All
so I have a
walks of
cool
life.
friend and a nerdy friend, because
Yeah.
you know, nerdy friend will help you with the homework. Cool friend will help you, you know,
Getting the parties.
get in the parties. That's
Yeah.
a very important thing.
Yeah.
But so, what advice would you give your younger self? Because your younger self is sitting out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Not that much younger. Maybe like
No,
2
that's
years.
fine. So I would say the thing that I wish I had learned earlier is to just always try your damnedest. Like, always give whatever you're working on as much effort as you can.
Would you say give service? Because you said you'd written articles and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Would giving service meaning like unpaid work?
I've actually avoided that. I never took unpaid internships.
Wow.
I've never done any of that. I probably to my own detriment. But my time is worth something. I would like to be compensated for it.
And how did you measure that?
So there's a lot of ways you can go about that. If you're an individual, contractor, you can look at, industry rates and, take the time to assess, how long it'll take you to turn something around. Be sure to include like any materials that you need to use. Just going through and really taking the time to make sure that you're not breaking even on something, you're profiting.
Right.
And then for like the more salary type stuff, it's going through and looking at the going industry rate in that market. So
Okay, all right.
yeah, like
Meaning like location wise?
exactly.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
So like, a junior software engineer in Dallas is going to make a vastly different salary than a junior software engineer in New York. And so you need to know which geographic markets are going to pay what for that kind of role, and then you also need to know your level of proficiency in that role, and do some real soul searching and be like, you know what, I'm actually closer to this end, and I shouldn't get the top end of that salary range for where I'm at right now. But yeah, that's what I would say.
So when you're judging these things, and you had transitioned from a developer, creator type of role to a producer role, how did you do that?
How did I transition from?
I mean, what would you say were your strengths in elevating to the point where you're a leader?
Oh, okay.
Not that you're not a leader as a creator, but a leader of other people, let's say.
Yeah, so being organized is a big one. And then, so like my guiding principle for production is to be the guy that makes everyone's life easier. Like you don't want to go to work with somebody who's going to make your job harder.
Yes.
Yeah. And you'll tolerate the person that doesn't get in your way.
Yes.
But like the guy who's like, oh, I know I can go to him and I can just like throw something on his plate and he'll handle it, or she.
It's totally non-gender.
Yeah.
Guys is a non-gender term for the purposes of this discussion.
But yeah, and like I can just toss this over the fence to them,
Sure.
and they've got it. And then like that's what I tried to embody as a producer, and that's, I think, led to my success.
That's been a motto that you've brought up a few times, which is the best employee or teammate is the person who makes people's lives easier. And just to expand on that, because a lot of the people who are watching are students or potential students. Some of them may be full-time students.
Right.
And it's not just work. It's socially. It's, are you the guy who comes to my desk all the time and is annoying and takes away from me? Or are you the guy who comes and gives me a helpful suggestion? I like it.
Yeah, I have, in the middle of crunch, washed one of my developers' laundry because they didn't have the time to do it.
Wow. You get all the glorious jobs. Did I ever tell you that? Was it smelly? It was really bad.
Yeah.
Can it stick to the ceiling?
No, it wasn't that bad.
I wish I had cards for those questions. So, aspiring artists, I'm just going to shotgun that term. How do they expand ideas so that they can create responsibly addicting content?
So I think you need to focus on viewing your users, your players, whatever, as a person, as another human. And it shouldn't be like, if you're making an app, daily active users is something that you're going to track. I don't think that's nearly as valuable as like average revenue or average lifetime revenue per user. That's a more indicative kind of thing of how successful you're going to be. But I mean, sorry, what was the question?
Okay.
Yeah.
Here. He's a reader.
Yeah.
Oh, readers are.
Due to expand their ideas.
Game of Thrones. No.
So, I would say.
We were talking about it before. That's what I mean.
I would say take the time to view your end user, your players, whoever, as a person, and don't focus on, I want somebody to watch my show over and over.
Right.
I don't want, don't focus on, I want somebody to play my game for 8 hours straight. Instead of making a long experience, make a really good experience. And if that takes 5 minutes, who cares?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather play a game for 1 hour, remember it the rest of my life,
Yeah.
than sink 40 hours in and be like, okay, done with that. Let's put another disc in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Part of designing in that way is planning to have exit points.
Right.
Yeah. Planning on, where can somebody walk away from this and be happy with the experience they had? Like, if you're working on Call of Duty, most people are probably going to quit when they lose a match because they're frustrated.
Yeah. Rage quit.
Yeah.
You know, but rage quit sometimes makes you want to go back in, you know, especially when it's like a 12-year-old and their voice is cracking and they just killed you 50 million times.
Yeah, I mean, for some people, though, like, that person will never play your game again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so you want to create some kind of system to entice them to play to your next exit point, so that they're quitting on a win rather than quitting on a loss. But yeah, I think the other side to that too is platform. So taking the time to consider like, oh, is this an experience I want somebody to have like on the bus on their way to work, or you know, is this something where I want somebody to sit down and just binge on this. And so, you know, designing for platform is the other way of trying to make sure that you hit that mark on like, this was a really solid experience.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you won't lose gamers if you have like a mom voice after you get killed and it says like, hey, there.
Yeah.
It's all right. You got shot by an 11-year-old, but that's okay. Go on back. You can do it, son. You know, I don't know. Something like that might work.
Yeah.
So in your long and esteemed career, what were some of like the poor examples of irresponsible design that you could wish you could go, like let's say you were just a contractor and you weren't in charge and you had to do it, but you knew that, hey, we're not doing it the right way. So that they know when they're getting into something like, oh, I don't know if I should do this.
So anytime that you're going to be like, we're going to be the next.
Oh, no.
And you're referring to something else, you've already lost. Like, you're already at a loss. You're already behind the curve. If you're saying, oh, I'm going to make a game that's like League of Legends, well, there's already League of Legends. Why would people stop playing League to play your game?
This is Guild of Legends.
Yeah. But yeah, so like, don't try to make a WoW killer. Don't try to make a League killer. Like, again, focus on something authentic. And if you see inauthenticity in the design of what's happening, call that out and be like, hey guys, this doesn't feel genuine. Like, we should probably approach this with some more heart.
So what you're saying is that you should have our students make friends, make life easier for people, and do other people's laundry.
Yeah.
All right, you hear that, everybody? Yep. Don't have your mom do your laundry. Do your mom's laundry, and you'll be a success. Is that a good, you know?
Yeah. No, that's perfect. That is the only thing you should take away from this.
Do you think that's it?
That's it.
But
We're
think
done.
about that. Come on, everybody. Yeah. But I mean, think about that. It sounds really dumb. But like, I know tons of people who got married, tons of people who got divorced. And the guys who do their wife's laundry or like do the dishes consistently are still married. As handsome, as rich as they may be, you know what I mean? So, whatever. I think you're ready to deal with the crowd?
Sure.
They're a little rowdy.
I'm cool with that.
You cool with that? All right. You are a producer, so I'm sure it's nothing you haven't seen. Yeah. Do we have our Phil Donahues and Oprah Winfrey's with the mics out there? You know, is that too old? Is that a bad one? Should I say like, Jerry Springer's? Is that better?
Sure.
Okay. No, I don't know if I want the Jerry Springer guy, you know. That just get crazy.
Yeah.
Hey guys, if you just want to put your hands up, we'll have people running around with mics to come to you, okay?
Oh, there's all the hands went up.
No, we have to get this guy
I saw him first.
He laughed at my Dr. Doom joke, so, you know, we're not going to forget you. Don't worry.
Okay, you're second.
Oh, there's people running. What's your question? I can hear you.
So when it comes to the whole thing with especially loot boxes and a lot of games like Battlefront 2 and Overwatch,
Okay.
what is it?
Okay, no problem. Hurry. Come on, hurry. I'm just kidding. Oh, look at this.
So when it comes to games like Battlefront 2...
You're covering the logo. Okay, there you go.
There we go.
Man.
I'm sorry.
We want more students. Go on.
When it comes to games with loot boxes like Battlefront 2 and Overwatch, what is it about those that makes people so addicted to them? And even though you'll get really low-tier stuff in those for a really long time, why do I keep buying $20 worth of loot boxes every time there's a new event in Overwatch?
Because you want to be Luke Skywalker. Just admit it. No, I'm just kidding.
So honestly, those loot boxes are Skinner boxes. They're designed to have a reward schedule that is just enough to keep you buying them. and never quite so good that you always get the thing you want. And for those that play Rocket League, the crates in Rocket League are single reel slot machines. Like, that's exactly what it is.
Oh, you're getting a standing and leaving ovation.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Hey, he's like clapping and leaving. All right, who else?
This guy.
Okay. Hurry. Do you still have the microphone? Which guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm colorblind, so that shirt.
You know, they have glasses for that now. Have you seen
They
those?
do. I have a contact lens, but I just hate putting it in.
Oh, try the glasses. They might work for you. I don't know. Then you can see how cool my jacket is.
I can already see. There's
Oh,
no
really?
like
It's blue. It's blue.
colorblind or not, you can't not see how awesome that jacket is.
That's what my wife said when I wanted to buy it. She's like, colorblind people will be blinded by that jacket. And then she's like, wear the jacket tomorrow. You ready? You ready? Don't cover the logo.
Got it. Could you expand a bit more on authenticity in games? Like, for gambling games, how do you enhance the authenticity of those?
So part of that is let's not. We have a series of games because in the entertainment industry as a whole, it's usually a franchise you are trying to build, and so even for our products that we've gone, like we have Zeus and then Zeus Unleashed and whatever. It's not about. It's about trying to replicate the feeling or experience, not just copying something. It's about trying to capture that lightning in a bottle and get that kind of engaging moment again. That's where the authenticity comes in. Is trying to create something that gets people excited, that will have fun playing it, and not just a Skinner box with a very set reward schedule. Yeah. Sure. No.
No.
We actually have an online question.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
online.
Over here. Leanne from Creative Writing.
Oh.
She's from the Creative Writing program. She asked, how does the seed concept for a game surface? And do you pitch in something together and then develop it as a team? Or do you sit down and start throwing ideas out just to see kind of what sticks?
So it...
That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. So it depends. We have a team of designers that they'll have. We have like just a wall where like they've scribbled down concepts and just like tacked them up to the wall. Where like, oh, that seems like it'd be a fun idea. We should do something with that. I don't know where it would fit in the games that I'm working on right now, but I don't want to lose it. And we've had other people like walk by and be like, oh, that'd be perfect in my game. And so there's some of that. We do have like a creative kickoff, like a green light, where the designer takes the time and sits down with an engineering lead, a producer, and an artist, and takes the time to flesh out a concept, and then we kind of contribute like, well, we could do that, but that's technically illegal, or we could do that, but we would have these engineering concerns or these art concerns, and so we take the time to really flesh out a concept and then pitch that to a committee that either says like, yeah, I think that'll be a good game, or you know what, like you've got the bones are really good of what you're thinking. Maybe if you just change this thing. So there's that, and then there's also, because we work with a lot of licensors. It'll just be like, oh, hey, we need to make a new Monopoly game. And so, we'll give that to a designer and be like, design a Monopoly game.
Thanks, Ginger. Thank you.
Yeah. Where are we at? Yeah.
So, if I followed you correctly, you mentioned that a good, I can't think of the word, but just a good way to be a leader as part of a team is to make people's lives easier. You mentioned doing laundry, and I'm sure like for all these students when they get into their respective disciplines. They're not going to be doing everybody's laundry.
Yeah. And not every producer will do that.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. So my question is, what are some things that you do that make people's lives easier?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I make sure that I keep all the information that I can organized and accessible, so that if we have some concern about something or somebody needs to be made aware of how we design something, they can access that information easily. I try to make sure that I'm the point of contact for my projects, so that oh, hey, I've got a question about this thing, like I'll go to, I just know I need to go to him. And versus, well, this is an engineering question, but I don't know which engineers are working on it or are working on this section. So me just being like a single point of contact helps that a lot, so that they're not inundated with a ton of communication about something that might not even be relevant to them. Honestly, it's a lot of little thankless things that you do that make for a good leader. And it really comes down to trying to just shield your team from all the chaos that's going on. One of my things that I look for when I'm looking for another producer is, does this person seem like they can be the calm in the storm? But yeah, good question.
That's a good analogy. The calm in the storm is the producer.
Yeah, the good producer, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because I think about that a lot.
Sometimes the producer is the storm.
Exactly, and that's when they're a bad producer. If we're trying to calm you down and you're the leader, what's to say about us?
Where are we at? Yes.
Yes. So obviously, you make creating games for a specific consumer, and you work in the gambling industry, so there's a lot of regulations involved in that. But I'm not sure what the regulations are on the advertisements. But what's the most creative campaign that you've seen for one of your products?
So we do this thing every year, G2E, where we go out and we, it's like GDC, but just for our industry, or NAM for the audio folks. And then we have started doing these Facebook Live things where, we have either the designer or the producer, somebody who worked on the game there, talking about it and answering questions. That's probably the most creative thing that I've seen that we've done, where we're interacting more or less directly with our end users, answering their questions, explaining how the game works, so that when they sit down and start playing, they understand the mechanics of something. And I honestly think that led to the tremendous success of our Willy Wonka game.
So this one comes from public relations. Sorry. Do you find, not for your gambling games necessarily, but for Lord of the Rings, that kind of thing, do you find that your target market of your game follows the target market of the show, or do you have to do independent research to determine that? It is really mixed.
That we have some people that have never heard of Lord of the Rings, but sit down and that's their game. It's a weird mix. So yes to all. Yeah.
That's an easy answer.
Yeah.
Just yes to all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. This is weird talking to yourself.
Yeah. Where are we at?
Oh, there you go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, stand. My question is, you talked about having 24 different projects with the military. Is there any tips you would give to managing between, switching between projects or anything like that?
Yeah, so I have to do that right now because I have 7 projects on my plate.
So lazy.
Yeah. I actually just block out on my calendar okay, so Tuesdays is Lord of the Rings Day. Friday is strictly dedicated to Wizard of Oz. It's such a weird thing to say. But yeah, I block out portions of my calendar. So like this first half of this day, I'm just working on this. And then when something, when my alarm goes off and I need to move on to the next thing, I just find a stopping point and then move.
Wow. You must have the weirdest dreams at night. It's like you spend all day with Gandalf, and then the next day with the wizard, and then the Wicked Witch. I don't know. It must be crazy.
Where's the next question? Okay, cool.
Hey, what's going on?
Hi.
So you talked a lot about your successful projects and what you've done. Can you give an example of more of a failure or something that you considered that wasn't as accessible or as successful as your other projects, and the point of view that you took on that and that you do differently now?
So something, if I'm understanding you correctly, what's a failure that I've learned from that I now do things differently? I would say, well, one of the biggest ones was, so I had a contract with the Department of Energy, and I was really egotistical and like, oh, this is my project, and like I wanted to run things a certain way, and it ended up just slowing things down. And so it was I was really young, and I learned a lot just from that, where somebody had kind of pulled me aside and was just like, dude, you need to chill out. Like, we can't get anything done because you're trying to like railroad this thing and make sure it follows a certain like schedule or do whatever. Like, you're just getting in the way. But yeah, so I'd say that was probably one of the things that I learned from, is just like, don't try to take it personally. Like, just, everybody wants to make a good product. If you're working with somebody who wants to do a bad job, you're at the wrong place. And I don't think that there's anybody like that. I think most people want to be good at their job. So, just learning to keep that in mind is something that I learned that has helped me a lot.
Check your ego at the door.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it's true.
Yo. Well, wherever.
Here. Okay. Over here.
Oh, hey.
You were talking about how you have to create exit points, but also you don't want to make it too addicting. So I'm just curious how you decide between where to straddle that fine line between where it's profitable to not make people leave entirely, but to let them, want to come back and still provide those exit points. You know what I mean?
So there's going to be exit points regardless. The ones that you don't plan for are your unintended ones, and those are going to be the ones that cost you money. And so it's more about trying to plan for where someone should stop engaging with your content, so that they can walk away from it feeling satisfied, feeling satiated, without, like the person who like rage quits whatever online game and then never goes back, like that costs you a ton of money potentially. I think, okay, so I can't say who. I have a colleague who he works for a larger company that has a successful online game, and they found that a single toxic player in a single match cost them $20 per person in that match.
Wow.
Yeah. And so for them, like one of their things with trying to fix their exit points was making sure that people aren't leaving because of a toxic player. So they had to find new ways to design their game to remove and reduce toxicity.
That's interesting. Yeah. And that's at all levels, because like, have you ever been in a big D&D group and one guy is kind of a jerk, and it's just like, do we kick the guy out or do we all just quit,
Yep.
And so it's at all levels.
I had a DM that was a jerk, and we just,
wow.
yeah, we were just like, you know what? Mutiny. Like,
Okay, true story. One time, the party burned every building down because we were mad at the DM. Every building we came across, every quest giver we killed, and it was not pretty, but it was funny.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I should have taken that approach. That would have been better.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello. Yes, I have a question. For me and any other creative writing students who are attending today or watching online, do you have any advice for us?
Just like general advice, or for specific to creative
writing students?
Yeah, so I would, continue with the get your stuff in front of people. And that's a much easier medium to be able to pull that off. Get feedback. Don't take it personally when somebody's like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Because you're going to do that stuff that sucks. I do stuff that sucks. We all do. And take the time to learn from their feedback and really consider, like maybe your idea was good, but you're just messaging it the wrong way. Yeah, and so just, get feedback early and often.
That's awesome.
Yep.
And when we talk about content, we're talking about creative writing, film, music development. It's just content is an all-encompassing term for anything creative.
Yeah.
You're
Yep.
welcome, sir.
Hi.
Trying to find you. Wave your arms wildly. Okay, cool.
So you're not the first person here at Full Sail to tell us that networking is key. So what are some things you did to network and make friends? Specifically the guys who helped you get the jobs that you said.
So one thing that I frequently do is I try to compliment somebody immediately. I'm big on shoes, and so I tend to notice when people have a dope pair of kicks, and I'll be like, dude, those are awesome. Where'd you get those? And that has sparked so many conversations that have led into like, oh, what do you do, by the way? And I'm like, oh, I do this. And they're like, no way, we need that. Yeah, just be nice and just honestly, be nice and take the time to get to know the other person. Don't make it about you. Make it about learning who they are and understanding who they are.
And follow up.
And follow up, yeah. I've had so many people that have been like, oh, I'll add you on LinkedIn. Never hear from them. They added me, but no messages. So disappointing.
Providing personal service.
Yeah.
Like being there for them, wishing them a happy birthday, that kind of stuff. It goes a long way.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Hey, what's up?
Hi.
So with the Wizard of Oz game, which I'm super excited for because Wizard of Oz is awesome. My only question is, since it's an older film with a really big cult, nowadays most people don't know the film. How does your team plan on selling that game to people who are not familiar with the movie?
That's a great question. We have a kind of resident Wizard of Oz expert who he loves their content. And so when we're working with any intellectual property, we try to make sure that, any licensed intellectual property, we try to make sure that we have somebody who is extremely familiar with the content working on it so that we can be like, oh, hey, should we do this on Lord of the Rings? Is anybody going to care? Oh, hey, should we do this on Woz? Is anybody going to notice? But yeah, that's probably the biggest thing, is making sure that we've got somebody who adores that stuff. Yeah.
All right, so how awesome was this? A lot of fun? Do you guys like it? All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
First off, thanks to everybody for attending and for your great questions, and thanks for Online Land, talking to you, Ginger. Thanks for, you're representing online. And thank you so much, Aaron, for coming, taking his time out.
Thank you for having me.
The guy's got 7 projects. That's 7 different jobs. And he just wanted to come back and, provide service to you all and to the people in the online land. So we really appreciate you coming out. And I hope that you all go out and just make the most of all these brilliant people and get a lot of network and meet other people. Make a friend by the end of the day who's another student. And thank you for showing up. And I hope you all have a great day. And
yeah,
it's great to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
So have fun, everybody. Enjoy Hall of Fame number 9. Rock on. Yay. Give yourselves a round of applause.